Escape fans, we're back for the other Block 12. This one is called Friendship Threads. So you've got 4 spools of thread. I'm just going to show you one because they're so cute. There's one in red, and here's one in blue. Now you know I'm making 2 blocks, so I had to make 4 more of these spools. But the great thing about that is now I get to show you how I made them. Now you're going to learn a new technique today, and it's called strip squares. And that's how I make these units. So what happens is we start by sewing 2-inch strips together. Let me just fold these down for a minute. So if you're looking at the block, you would see there are 2 shades of blue and 2 shades of red. The background is all the same in the red block, and then when I went to the blue block, I picked another background, but I used the same background consistently with both blues, and I did the same with the reds. So now if I fold this back, you can see there's your 2 reds with the same background, and here are the 2 blues with the same background. So that's what you're going to do. Choose 2 colors for your spools, pick 4 fabrics, 2 and 2, and then 2 backgrounds. These strips are 2 inches wide. You're going to sew them together, and you're going to press the seams towards the dark. Once you have them sewn together, they are, I think, 3.5 inches wide. So that means your recut on your mat will be at 3.5. So I'm going to actually cut one now for you to see. So we're going to rotary cut this unit at 3.5. Let me scoot this down to where it is at the 0, and then we'll come down to 3.5, and we'll make our first cut. Okay, now I'm going to cut another one. This is 3.5. Now you know what? This is just me. I like to start back at the solid line, not in the half, so I'm moving it. So there's my 3, now there's my half. I feel a little more secure about my cutting that way. But that's me. Alright, now I have this much left over, and I just want to show you now how you go about making your marking, okay? So the marking, if this is at 3.5, you're actually going to mark it at 3. So I do want to show you this. I'm going to flip it over, and the main reason I'm flipping it over is because my one red is very light colored on the back, and it's easier for me to see my lines on that. Okay, and I've got a red Frixion pin, and so instead of at 3.5 now, you're going to line up on your line for 3, and you're going to make your marks right here. Just move right over to the next one. Don't try to do the other side yet, because you're on this rotating mat. Take advantage of it. Just rotate it around. That way you're marking from your best side, not upside down. Much easier to do. Okay. Get that 3-inch line on, and then we're going to sew them. And you'll see how quickly this goes together. I'm going to just slide this out of our view. We won't need that right now. Just need to sew our lines. So we're sewing on the line. I'm going to try to be more careful and stay on my line. Now as I approach this center, you can feel it with your finger. This is really important. Right here you have a staggered seam allowance. Make sure you're going to press down and you're going to feel that one seam is on the other side is pressed up and one is pressed down. Now I'm coming down here. I need to go ahead and bring this next piece in. There we go. Alright. Again, I want to make sure I can feel that staggered seam allowance. And we're going to turn it around. And all we have to do is start again. Now notice this time I don't have the leader. But because I'm doing it off with most of the presser foot on, we're not going to have a problem. Here we go. And one more stitching line. Okay. Now we're going to cut in between and you'll see how this works. It's pretty neat. These are called strip half squares. Now I'm going to go back and trim off dog ears on this. When you have a square, when you do a half square, from a square, you will always have 2 dog ears. Remember, when we were working with rectangles, we only had 1 dog ear. But that's okay, we can deal with that. That's a pretty wide, so we want to trim out that extra 1/8 of an inch there. And let's get this one. I like to press these seams open. I've been sewing with a 2.0 stitch length, which is going to be a nice tight stitch. I don't have to worry about the stitches coming out. And I do prefer to sew or press these seams open because in this situation it's going to lay much flatter. So I'm going to stage this up. I'm just pressing it open with my fingernail, and then I want to turn it over real quick to show you how this is going to come together. And we're going to need 4 of them. So in each one you'll see what happens. And I'm going to just go over here to the iron and press these open real quick so they'll lay flat for you. Alright, now I'm going to come back to the board so I can hold it up and you can see it. We'll take those off and we'll just hold this board up here so you can see. Notice this is going to be the right side of the spool. So I've got on the right side. So I need to do, I'm going to lay that back down, but I need to open up the other side to get the left side. It won't take too long and we'll have a left side. And we needed 4 units to basically get 1 spool. And that's all it takes. So you're going to be sewing across 2 squares. You'll get 4 half squares, and then you will make a spool. So here is your other side. So notice you're getting, let me put this up for you now and you'll see it. I'm going to hold it up. So notice that you are getting, one's pointing to the right and one's pointing to the left. Now, to make this work, you're going to put a right and a left half together. See how these are going to fit together? And then below this, you're going to need to flip this around and put here on this side and on this side, and you will have created a spool. So you'll have a seam right here and a seam right here and then right through the middle, and that'll be pressed open. Now I've got 2 of them sewn together right now, so let me show you. So 2 have been sewn together here and 2 have been sewn together right here. So there they are. And the last seam to do is this. So you want to scoot them together and we can sew that last seam, and you'll see how that works. Now, I do want to flip it over to the wrong side real quick because I want to show you something. On this seam, when you join your halves together, I have intentionally staggered the seam allowance. So I press to the dark here and the dark here so that when I am getting ready to join these 2 halves together, there will be a staggered seam allowance, and it makes an easier connection right through the center. So now we'll put them right sides together, and one will be going up and one will be going down. And then we will press the final seam open. But let's go ahead and put this in to the machine. And I'll put this little piece down for us. And here we go. This is a good time. You could pin this at the center if you'd like. Let me get right on that 1/4 inch. And right here, as you come across the 2 reds in the center, I pushed one up out of the way. I'm forcing it to stagger a little bit. You'll notice this whenever you get ready to sew it. You'll see. It's a little bit hard to show on the camera, but it will make sense when you are sewing. The staggered seam allowance is always the best way to get your pieces to lay flat, to look good, so that when it's all joined together, it looks like the finished product. So, here it is. There's your spool, right here. And you're going to make 4 of those. Then you're going to sew a border all the way on, well, basically all the way around, but you will have 2 squares that you'll sew on the ends. I'm just going to show you. See, like this. You won't put those on until after you put these on. So the first 2 borders will go on, and then your final borders. Okay? And that's basically how you make it. It's very easy, really, but the strip square technique is a lot of fun to learn. So it's up to you. You can do the super easy block of left, right, center, or you can try this. I hope you had fun watching. I had fun doing it. And we'll see you next time when we do the big lodge.